Dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Alhamdulillah, it's a great blessing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given me and you the ability and tawfiq to participate in this gathering, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering a source of guidance for all of us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this gathering one of the means of our entry into Jannah. Inshallah, in today's khutbah, I want to share with you something that gets oftenly overlooked, but it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really wants us to think about. And this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala really wants us to reflect on. And there's a difference between reading Quran just at the surface level. You read Quran and you read it with a very correct tajweed. You read it with correct tajweed, with correct mukharij, with all the correct pronunciation, and you also read the translation of the Quran, but then you move on. And then there is a situation when you read Quran, and after you read Quran, you stop and you take a pause and you think and you reflect on what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually telling you. This is one of those places in the Quran. In this particular ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ, your master revealed. And when you hear these words, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ, your master revealed, obviously we know that Quran is a kalam to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's a conversation with Rasulullah. So when Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam hears these words, your Rabb revealed, your master revealed, he is thinking that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about a revelation of Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about him revealing to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or revealing Quran to him. But in this particular ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I'm not talking about a wahi to you. I'm talking about a wahi to a honey bee. I'm talking about a wahi to a honey bee. Your master, the same Rabb who sends revelation to you, he is the same one who is sending some kind of wahi to a honey bee. Just think about that. A bee, a honey bee. It's just a small creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to most of us, it is the most insignificant creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Scotland, we don't see bees, or we don't see honey bees. And even if we see them, we just shush them away. Or we try to kill them with our chittar, with our slipper. That's what we try to do with them, right? But in this particular ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that there is a special kind of wahi that I didn't give it to you. I gave it to the honey bee. So you make sure that you think about the honey bee. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to think about the honey bee, now we as a believer, as a follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I have to think about a honey bee and you have to think about a honey bee. And when you think about that honeybee, you find this new respect for this small creature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes it as something that receives wahi. It receives wahi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say that about a cow in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say that about a camel in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not say that about a bird in the Quran. Allah mentioned all of these animals in the Quran. Allah mentioned all of His other creations, many of His other creations, if not all of His creation, many of His other creations in the Quran as well. But Allah never used a wahi for His creation other than Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or Anbiya karam alayhim wassalatu wassalam. So when you see this word wahi with a honeybee, it captures your mind. It makes you think, what is so special about this honeybee that Allah wants me to think about? So let's look at what Allah is saying about this honeybee. Allah says, وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, your master revealed to honeybee, أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ. In Arabic, the expected language is أَن تَتَّخِذَ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ. People who understand Arabic language, they can appreciate this. The expected language should be أَن تَتَّخِذَ مِنَ الْجِبَالِ, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala send a wahi to a honeybee that it should make its home min al-jibali, in the mountain, wa min al-shajari, or it should make its home in a tree, wa mimma ya'rishun, or it should make its home what people build for it. People make beehives, bee farms, they do bee farming. So whatever people build, it can make its home in that thing as well. The two most incredible things that we are learning in this ayah, first of all, what we are learning in this ayah is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to a honeybee directly. Allah is commanding honeybee directly. Anittakhidhi, not antattakhidha. Anittakhidhi, you, not it should make a home. You make a home. Allah is talking to a honeybee, a small creature that we never give any importance. Allah is talking to it directly. Allah is commanding it directly. Allah is communicating with a honeybee directly to tell it that where should it make its home. This is the first thing that we learn here. Another incredible thing that we learn here is that if you have ever used any byproduct of honey, which is a massive market, which is a massive industry in the world, it's not only about the honey, it's about the byproducts of honey. So most of the farmings, for example, California has the most biggest and the most oldest almond, what do you call them? They have the most biggest and oldest almond farms, which supplies 90% of the need of the world. They have farms which supplies 90% of the need of the world. And all of these almonds are coming from honeybee. They extract certain pollen from certain plants, from certain flowers, so they farm all of these honeybees there in their farms. Now pay attention to this carefully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I reveal to the honeybee that you should make your home in a mountain. You should make your home in a tree. But if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not mention that you should make your home وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ, in what people build for you, will you be able to farm them? Will you be able to farm? You will only find honeybees in the trees or in the mountains. That's it. You will never be able to farm them. Never ever be able to farm. But Allah said, وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ. So whatever you enjoy from the byproducts of honey is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving it permission. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving it allowance to make its home where you want to make it home. To make its home where you build it for it. What you build it for it. So that you can farm them. And if you just think about that, it makes me reflect on the fact that whatever we take from the creation of Allah, whatever benefit we take from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is directly commanding its creation explicitly, in this case honeybee, to put yourself on the service of mankind. Don't you think we should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? وَمِمَّا يَعْرِشُونَ. You go and make your home in what people build for you. That's where you can farm them. That's why you can make byproduct of honey. That's why you have such a massive industry. That's why you can eat almonds. And this is only because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what I really want to share with all of you, it's some guidance from this small creature of Allah. Yes, appreciation for this creature of Allah, but at the same time some guidance. And I found something so incredible and so amazing that I'm still baffled by it. I found a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it's a sahih hadith. It's mentioned in Musnad Imam Ahmad. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِي, I swear by the one who has my life in his hand. Now Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam can say anything without taking any kind of qasam. He can say anything without swearing, because he is the most truthful. But in this particular case, he swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first. You know why? Because now what he is about to tell us, it is something very incredible. It is something so amazing that you have to pay attention to that. So he says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِي, I swear by the one who has my life in his hand. إِنَّ مَثَلَ الْمُؤْمِنِ كَمَثَلِ النَّحْلِ. He said that the example of a believer is like the example of a honeybee. First Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I send wahi to honeybee, and we were in awe. Oof. Allah is sending wahi to honeybee, we need to pay attention to it. But now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, if you want to become a believer, be like a bee. Become like a bee. And I ask myself this question, how can I become like a bee? What a bee can teach me about my iman? How a bee can teach me that I should live my life, or how should I live my life as a believer? But apparently it is something so important that Prophet ﷺ swears by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then he said it this. So he is telling us some things, few things about an-nahl, about the honeybee that we need to pay attention to. What are these few things? Let's try to understand them. The first thing that he said about the honeybee is that akalat tayyiba. It eats pure. It eats good and it eats pure. You know, a honeybee, when it goes to a bed of flower, it doesn't go to a flower that is immature. It doesn't go to a flower that is gone bad or that is fallen. It doesn't even go to the flower that it can smell somebody else is already gone there. So if a bee from another beehive goes to a flower, sits there and take a food from that flower, that bee doesn't go to that flower. It goes to a pure, clean and fresh flower. That's it. It goes to a pure flower. The first aspect of our iman that is being highlighted here is that the way we pursue our rizq, not just the food we eat, the way we pursue our rizq, the way we take our jobs, the way we do our businesses, the way we make our money, the way we consume our food, it should not only be halal, it should be tayyib, it should be pure. You should try your best that it should be pure. And you know, a honeybee, it doesn't settle for the less. It's never settled for less. It keeps looking until it finds the best. This is the attitude of a believer. All of us, every single one of us, we are supposed to be the highest achievers. This is the part of our attitude. Whatever we do, we should be perfect in it. We should do our best. Why? Because Prophet ﷺ told us, be like a honeybee, and honeybee always look for the best. It doesn't settle for less. It eats pure. This is the first thing. The second thing Prophet ﷺ said, وَوَضَعَ الطَّيِّبَ. It sits well. Not only it eats pure and good, it sits. The way it sits on the flower, it's beautiful. It's pure and it's nice. You know, if you study about the bees, you will find that when they go to the flower to take their food, they give something in return. You call it pollen. Pollen. They take from the flower, they give pollen in return, and that pollen is the life of that flower. Honeybees will never go to a flower until they give that flower a lot more than what they take from it. A lot more. They give it its life. They give it its pollen. What are we learning here? Every single one of us has relationships, right? Just like this bee has a relationship with the flower. We all have our relationships. Every single of your relationship, every single of my relationship, in every single relationship, we have to give. Sometimes we give and sometimes we get. In our marriage, sometimes we give and sometimes we get. With our parents, sometimes we give, sometimes we get. With our children, sometimes we give, sometimes we get. With our employees, with our employers, with our teachers, with our staff members, sometimes we give and sometimes we get. Right? In every single relationship, there is a give and take. But a bee gives a lot more than it takes. And what it gives, it makes the life of that recipient better. And what it takes, it doesn't harm the recipient. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand what I mean? And by the way, when this bee, when it sits on the flower to take its food, it sits on the most delicate part of the flower. And a honeybee is a heavy creature as compared to a flower. It's a heavy creature. So if it puts its entire weight on the flower, the place where it's getting its food from, the place where it's getting its nectar from, it will break if it puts its entire weight on it. So it never puts its entire weight on it. It keeps fluttering its wings. It keeps flying. It doesn't break the flower. What are we learning here? We have a relationship. Every single one of us. We have our relationships. But we keep demanding and demanding and demanding and demanding until the people who love us, our friends, our parents, our children, our teacher, we demand so much from them that they actually break. You want something from them? Sure. But don't take too much. Take it easy. Don't take too much. Don't put too much pressure on them that they actually break. And if you want to take something, give something more. Bring something first and then demand. And even when you demand less. Demand less. That's what we are learning. It sits well. It doesn't break the flour. It finds a fine place to sit on, and it eats well. And then Prophet ﷺ said, one other benefit that we learn from a nahl, from honeybee, is that when a honeybee from a different hive, it's passing by, and it sees another bee taking food from the flower, it doesn't say, okay, let me go and mess it up. Because if two bees from different hives, if they go to the same flower, that flower will be messed up. It will not be able to pollinate, and it will eventually die. It will eventually die. That honeybee realizes that this flower already has a relationship with another bee. So I should not come close to it. It comes close, it smells, it realizes, and then it goes away. It goes and sits on some other flower that is not being touched by any other bee. What do we do in a Muslim community? What do we do? A brother opens up a shop. MashaAllah, it's a good business. He opens up a shop. I will open the exact same shop right across the street from there. I will take all of his customers. If a customer is walking into his shop, I will say, I'm offering the same things on a discount. Come to my shop. That's what we are doing. Allah's rizq is vast. You don't need to take your food out of my plate and then put it on your plate. You don't. But that's what we are doing. Unfortunately, I've seen so many professionals. I'm not just talking about business people. I've seen so many professionals, and some of them I know very well because they are my friends in Pakistan. They are doctors and they are engineers. You might be saying, Mulana Sahib is Mulana Sahib. How come he has friends who are doctors? I've studied in a university as well, so I have these friends as well. I haven't only studied in Jamia Shafi, I've studied in other places as well. I have friends who are doctors, who are engineers, who are lawyers, who work in a business sector, in a corporate sector. And when a student comes to them, when somebody comes to them to apply for internship in their company, they don't recommend him. They don't. You know why they don't recommend him? Because maybe 5 years down the line, he will be making more money from me. 10 years down the line, he will be making more money than me. The attitude of a believer is what? He is earning his rizq. I should find my rizq somewhere else. Allah's rizq is vast. I don't need to cut in his rizq. This is not a cutthroat business, just like you see in corporate societies. It's not a cutthroat business. I don't need to take your money and make it my own. But unfortunately, that's what we are doing. All we care about is money. That's it. That's what we care about. We don't care about each other. We care about our money. But Prophet ﷺ said, وَوَضَعَتْ فَلَمْ تُكْسِرْ. It sits, but it doesn't break. It puts demand, but it doesn't break. What a great way to live. What a great way to earn your rizq. And it's not only about money, by the way, like I was talking about relationships. It's also about, in every single relationship, what we are learning in the light of the believer. That if we truly understand the lesson of that bee, what Prophet ﷺ is emphasizing so much is that we need to learn, am I putting too much pressure on my children? Am I demanding too much from my parents? Am I asking too much from my wife? Am I asking too much from my husband? Am I going too hard on my employees? Am I going too hard on my teachers? We need to ask ourselves these questions constantly, because Prophet said, be like a bee. And we have to become like a bee. And then Prophet ﷺ said, فَلَمْ تُفْسِدْ. It doesn't cause corruption. It doesn't cause corruption. One of the most remarkable things about the honeybees is that the flowers that they go to, these flowers are very far away from where they themselves are. They live in a beehive, right? Honeybees, they live in a beehive. Sometimes these beehives and the flowers that they go to very far away from each other. Sometimes they have to go to a distance of many, many, many miles to go to these flowers. Then they take their food and then they come back. When they come back into their hive, now obviously this hive is not just their home. A beehive is not just a home of one bee. It's like a neighborhood where everyone is living together, right? So when they come back together, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught them a dance to do. Allah taught them a dance to do. So they hover in the air in front of the other bees. They are telling the rest of the bees the other parts of the same flowers that they have gone to. So they said to the bees, I have earned my own risk. I have made risk for myself, but you can benefit if you go to this, 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 and this flower. I will point you to it. I will give you all the directions. I will give you all the navigation. This is what they call a bee dance. They do it in front of the rest of the bees so that they can go and earn their risk. They can go and eat. So that they can go and build a community for themselves, build a hive for themselves. Because it realizes that if I benefit someone else, it's not a competition. If I benefit someone else, we all are getting beneficial. We all are getting some kind of benefit. Because I cannot make a community by myself. I cannot make a beehive by myself to be recognized by other people, by other bees. I need the help of other bees. So we all have to do good together. We all have to do well together. And what do we do in a Muslim community when we don't have Iman? In a believing community, what do we do when we don't have Iman? If someone is doing well, we get jealous. And if you are doing well, you make sure that you don't tell anyone how you get there. You make sure. Then you are the smartest person. So if someone asks you where you get your supplies from, I don't know. I don't remember. Brother, which job did you apply to? Can I see your resume? I need to prepare my own resume. Oh, I'm sorry, I lost my file. I don't know. We don't want to help each other. You know why? Because it's a competition. Why should I let anything know? Why should I let anyone know anything that I learned myself? Why should I care about anyone? Everyone should look out for themselves. Prophet ﷺ saw an enormous wisdom that is coming by learning this function of the bee. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Rasulullah ﷺ, pay attention to the bee. I'm sending a wahi to the bee. وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ أَنِ اتَّخِذِي مِنَ الْجِبَالِ Down to every single path it takes. Every single path. You know, when you see a honeybee passing by and it goes round in circle and you can't see a clear flight path, you can't tell a clear flight path, and you say maybe this honeybee is lost. But Allah says, Subula Rabbiki, every single turn that it takes is the pathway of its master. Every single, you think it's lost, but every single turn that it takes, Allah says, I make it turn. I make it take that turn. And Zulula means humility. Allah is saying that honeybees, they are functioning, they are working, but they are working with humility. They have a job to do, a very important function. They are on a mission. But on a mission doesn't mean that you become arrogant. Sometimes when we get a good job and we get really, really busy, then what happened to us? We become arrogant. I don't have time for you. Please don't call me later. I'm so busy. I've met so many parents and it makes me cry, brothers. Especially the youngsters who are sitting here. This is only for you. I've met many, many mothers and fathers who said to me to just request one thing to their children. When they come back home, just say salam to their parents. And then they can go wherever they want to go. Sometimes we get so busy in our work and so busy in our life that we become so arrogant to say salam to our parents. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, honeybee is performing more important function than yours. It's on a mission, but still it walks with humility. It works with humility. It's not arrogant. And one final thing, I don't have time. Actually, I've taken all of your time. But one last thing that I want to tell you about. There are many, many things. But one last thing. Allah made this creature incredible. Incredible creature. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it do all these kinds of things. It earns its own livelihood. It benefits itself. It benefits the entire community. It benefits the environment. But above and beyond that, all of these bees, they come together. And then they make a beehive. And in that beehive, they make what? They make honey. And that honey is not beneficial for them. It's beneficial for whom? فِيهِ شِفَاءٌ لِلنَّاسِ. It's beneficial for the entire mankind. Entire mankind. If you and I, if we can learn to live like a believing community, if we can learn to benefit each other, if we can learn to live happily alongside with each other, if we can learn to take our risk in modesty, if we can learn not to put too much pressures on our relationship, then we will not only benefit ourselves, we will benefit the entire mankind. Just like the honeybees come together, they make something that heals the entire world. So many ailments are treated through honey. You cannot make a honey until and unless all of these bees, they come together, they start living together, and they start working together. So if you are the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and if you have to be like the bee, then you have to learn how to live together, how to work together, how to love each other, how to build a community together. And if you can do that, you will not only benefit yourself, you will cure and heal the entire mankind. The entire mankind is greedy today. We are eating away this planet. Everyone wants something for themselves. Looking out for number one. That's what you say now? Looking out for number one. And one of the greatest tragedies of this world, as fitna is increasing, the honeybees are decreasing. The greatest ayah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is disappearing and it's increasing. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Falam tufsid." It takes its foods, but it provides life. The way manufacturing works today, the way businesses work today, the way we consume our risk today, the way we make our money today, we are not producing any life. We are not. When we manufacture by the exponential amount, it's more death. It's more death. We are creating more pollution, we are creating more intoxicant, we are creating more waste. 2 months down the line, we have the month of Ramadan, and you will see all the Muslim brothers and sisters, how much food that they are wasting. How much food they are wasting. We are creating this fasad. Allah says, learn to consume like a bee and don't make fasad. You can have your world. You can have your world, but it doesn't mean that it has to cause something to the rest of the world. It doesn't mean that it has to cause something to the next generation. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sincerely ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us appreciate. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people of thought. This religion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, it's a profound religion. If you think about it, it's something else. But if you have following the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not thinking about it, then it's something else. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people of thought. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us the people of reflection, that we truly reflect on the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and on the profound wisdom of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us united in this dunya, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reunite us in the hereafter. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.